Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to do this combo. I would say this combo is definitely intermediate, probably on the upper end of intermediate just because it has a little bit more difficult intermediate tricks in it, and the transitions are going to take a little bit to get them nice and smooth. But if you can get this combo down, it'll definitely level up your flow, and it has some really cool tricks that if you haven't learned yet, you're definitely missing out. Alright, so let's get into the breakdown. To start off this combo, you're actually going to do these first 4 tricks, which I've already taught a separate video which shows how these can loop together infinitely. And that video is up here if you haven't seen it yet. If you've already watched it and learned it, then congratulations. It's going to make this combo just that much easier. But don't worry, if you haven't seen it yet, I will walk through all of these steps. But if you feel like you need a more in-depth walkthrough of just those tricks, then you can check out that video and learn that first. Now to start off this combo, you're going to do a whip rollover from the safe handle, but you're going to catch it between your index and thumb and go into one chaplain just like that. Then you're going to stop it with your middle finger. Now if you haven't done this before, it's okay to just catch it like that slowly and go into some chaplains and then stop it with your middle finger. And the more you work on it slowly and make sure you get all of those movements down solid, you'll be able to do it fluidly in no time. Now from this position, once you stop the chaplain, right as you stop it, you're going to swing your hand down and you're going to go into a 0G full twirl. Well, the first half of it. So once you get to this position, you can stick your index finger out and you're right into the cherry picker position. So you're going to do that cherry picker and get into this position. Now this is where if you learn that looping combo, you're going to go into another whip rollover, but you're not going to do that here. The transition is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so you're going to throw that cherry picker. When you get to this position, it's going to move around like this, and then you're going to, between just your index and your middle finger, kind of catch the bite handle, and then you're going to go into a wrist pass motion, so that way the blade, the sharp side, doesn't touch you, and you're going to go right into a helix. Like that. And so that's going to look like, so now that part again faster, it's going to look like that. Now once you do that helix, you're just going to throw a helix aerial. Except instead of throwing a regular helix aerial, you're going to catch it with your pinky. Like that. Now if you haven't actually done the helix aerial catch with the pinky before, honestly I don't think it's too hard. If you really have your helix aerials down, then it shouldn't be too hard to get the pinky catch. So I would say make sure that your helix aerials are really solid. Then when you're going to go and try the pinky catch, throw the helix aerial a bit slower, make sure it can complete its full rotation. It really helps too when you're doing this helix aerial, you want to make sure like you can throw it and then get into position with your hand as fast as you can. And so what that allows you to do is when you throw a slow aerial, you get your hand into position quickly. You could really look and watch as the balisong is falling down to make sure that you are catching it properly. And so, yeah, just throw it slowly, and then you can do the same thing where you're just gonna, I find it helps to kind of put your thumb over your other fingers just so they don't get in the way. And just stick out your pinky as far as you can, not just out this way, but out to the side. That way it gives the balisong plenty of room to then wrap your pinky around. And make sure when you do that pinky catch that you drop your hand down so that way the sharp side of the blade doesn't touch you. So once you do the pinky catch, then you're just going to follow the momentum over like you're going to do another helix aerial. Except you're going to do kind of like a gin knuckle duster, but from this position. Now it looks like that. And this is what the gin knuckle duster looks like. And I don't know if it's just because I already know how to do the gin knuckle duster, or if it's because this movement's actually a little bit easier, but I think this movement might be a little bit easier. That's because I think just where the balisong lies in the hand. So essentially what you're doing is you do the pinky catch and you grab the balisong like this, and you're dropping down, swinging over, and then you're letting go of the balisong and it's just gonna slide just like that. And then you're going to wrap your index and thumb and grab it. So it's really not moving that much, as you can see. Now something to note with the gin knuckle duster that I think applies to this version as well is while you think of it, it's called the knuckle duster because the balisong is going right over your knuckles. I find that when you think about the balisong sliding right over your knuckles, it tends to go too low and your hand gets in the way. But when you think of it about throwing like a helix aerial, except instead of throwing it really high, you just throw it just barely and then have your hand go right under it, then I find that it's easier to get the right movement and have the balisong just go right under the hand. So you're kind of like throwing just like the softest aerial you can, and your hand is going up with it. So it's going right under the balisong. So similarly, right, while I'm saying like for this movement, the balisong is just scraping right over your knuckles and then you're grabbing it. You don't want to think about it that way because then you'll probably end up just hitting your hand like that. You want to think about doing just like a little bit of an aerial and then just having your hand follow the motion of it. And so when you put it together fluidly, it should look just like that, where it's just like floating right over your hand. Now from here, you're going to do basically just a reverse shortstop. Now I do have a full tutorial for that trick linked up here, and you can check that out if you want to get just a full breakdown that also shows you some other cool variations. And so I highly recommend checking that out, but I can kind of walk through the steps right now. So I'm going to quickly cover the steps, and then I'll give you some tips for getting the trick down. So you're going to be in this position and you're going to do a thumb rollover and then catch with your middle finger and thumb. Now, as the balisong is swinging around, you're going to release your thumb and add your index finger lightly, but mainly your ring finger. Find the index finger kind of just helps stabilize it and smooth out the transition to getting to your ring finger holding onto the bally like this. You're going to use the momentum, but you're basically going to be pushing down on the safe handle with your middle finger and kind of bring the balisong up like that. So now some tips for getting that down smoothly. When you throw this, you're going to kind of want to, I find, let the balisong slip a little bit right here in this transition, because then you're going to be up further on the handles. Because of how leverage works, you're going to be able to do this lifting motion a lot easier from not all the way necessarily at the end, but just, up here, as opposed to doing it right at the pivots where it's going to be easier to move, but you'll get less leverage. Having more leverage with the momentum will make it so the balisong will swing open. And the cadence for this trick is very important. I find there's like a little like pause too, right, when I'm throwing it and then like doing that slip. Because if you go too quickly, then you might go into a chaplain and you don't want that. So with this trick, it's definitely complex as to what your fingers are doing. In addition to, there's a lot of important things that are for you to control with the momentum. Very similar to just the regular shortstop, how your fingers have a lot to work on and you have to make sure that the balisong moves fluidly through the motion. So I say don't give up on this trick. You will be able to get it. It's definitely worth putting in the work because it looks so cool. It also helps get down the rev infinity ladder because it is that same movement. So now going from that pinky catch into that movement, you could just go down into a regular shortstop if you wanted to end the combo that way. But learning the reverse shortstop is most certainly well worth your time. Now for a quick run through of all the steps before slow motion, we're going to do a whip rollover into a chaplain, drop down into half a 0G full twirl into the cherry picker, then the helix, pinky catch into the knuckle duster kind of movement, and then the reverse shortstop. Now, if you're curious about the closing move that I've done all throughout this video, it's actually pretty simple. So now if you know how to do the figure 8 close, you're doing that. You're doing the first motion and then the second motion, but instead of swinging it up to close, when you do that second motion right there, you can see that the balisong will want to spin. If you just rotate the handle at the right spot, you can get a fan going pretty easily. So you can just practice that. And as you can see, the handle will naturally make it so that way the balisong will want to end in this position, and then you can just stamp it shut. And just be careful if you're doing it from the bite handle that you get your fingers out of the way. You can also combine that closing with a shortstop to get this trick. And here now, you may have noticed that all of the tricks that are in the combo that you just learned go in the counterclockwise direction if you're right-handed. And now that you've leveled up your flipping in that regard, there's actually a whole nother side of tricks that you can learn, which go in the reverse direction. I actually made an entire combo that I just did, which I have a full tutorial and you can check out here, and you're definitely not going to want to miss out on this one. So click through to learn this combo and unlock your reverse flow.